welcome to my review of Spider-Man Far From Home. This is a spoiler-free review. You are absolutely safe. So if you like this video, make sure to subscribe and give it a like as it helps me out a lot. And by subscribing, you will join the geeky community. Spider-Man Far From Home is once more directed by Jon Watts, who directed the first film, and it stars Tom Holland once again as Peter Parker / Spider-Man, Jake Gyllenhaal joining the fray as Mysterio, and all sorts of familiar faces, not only from the last film, but also from the Marvel Cinematic Universe in general. And this film, of course, takes place after Avengers Endgame, so I will have spoilers for that, as Peter Parker is dealing with coping with the death of Tony Stark and all the responsibility that comes with it. He's dealing with the trauma. He's also dealing with the fact that he wants to relax for a bit. He wants to be Peter Parker and just have a summer vacation with his friends and the girl he loves. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I've always been. I watched the 90s animated show when I was a kid. I grew up with the Remy trilogy and those other movies that came in the meanwhile before this version of Spider-Man. And something that I really loved about Homecoming is that it reminded me why I and so many people love this character, and much of that is due to Tom Holland. Tom Holland is amazing as both the facet of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He embodies both these characteristics and these sides of the character very, very well. Peter Parker is dealing with a lot. He wants to relax, but he understands the responsibility that he has towards protecting the world and the ones he loves. But he also wants to confess his love for MJ throughout this film. So he's dealing with a lot of pressure from all these sides. And then there's Nick Fury, who wants him to join on this mission to try and save the world, because Quentin Beck's world, who is another world different in the multiverse, has been destroyed by these elementals that are now attacking Peter and his friends throughout his travels around Europe. So Tom Holland in this film has a lot to do emotionally, and I really love seeing that. There isn't really a scene where he doesn't have something to play off of. There isn't really a scene in this film where Tom Holland and Peter Parker emotionally aren't overwhelmed with emotion, be it good or bad. And so I really think that it helps this character progress. Something else that's great in this film is the relationship that develops and grows between him and MJ. I liked MJ in the first film, but she was clearly a side character that was just there to be introduced, and they reap those seeds here because she becomes such a more interesting character, not only on her own, but as a foil to Peter Parker in many of the scenes in this film. Look, I'm not a touchy-feely guy, that's just not who I am, but they are absolutely adorable in this film. I couldn't help but smile, and their chemistry is great. So is Peter's chemistry with Ned, who's his best friend, and he cracked me up throughout this film. And this film is hilarious. There are so many comedic beats in this film that just work. They hit that punch just straight, and it's amazing to see. There is what is probably my favorite joke in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe in this film, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. You just have to guess. If you know me well, it will be pretty easy to spot. Let's talk about Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. I was really excited to see Jake Gyllenhaal finally in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I was really excited to finally see Mysterio being brought to life, because I've always been the guy who thought Mysterio was cool when everyone else thought he was a laughingstock. I was afraid, however, that he wouldn't make much of an impression, because I really want to see more of Jake Gyllenhaal in these types of films if they're good. Not only does he deliver a great performance, but I love everything they do with Mysterio. What I love about Mysterio in the comics is how he creates illusions, not only to beat up his opponents, Spider-Man specifically, physically, but he uses them to attack them mentally, emotionally, and everything visually from Mysterio, no pun intended, is stupendous. Not only for Peter to having to deal with some of the things that he shows him, it's just absolutely traumatic, and I love the foil that Mysterio plays to him. Also his motivation. He's the type of villain that you understand his motivation, and he just becomes that absolutely despicable guy that you just can't help but hate. I loved how they used Mysterio in this film. I love Jake Gyllenhaal's performance. He was just great. I even loved something that he did that I cannot go into in this review, but I will tell you about it in the spoilers review. But everything about Mysterio was tremendous. The action scenes are also exciting, and this film feels like a true adventure. Something that I loved about Homecoming, and that I love that this film keeps doing that, it's that it's helping Peter become Spider-Man. He has the suit, he has the powers, but he has to grow into this fully fledged Spider-Man protector of New York City that we know and love. And I love that they're taking their time, they're taking these films one step at a time to make Peter truly grow into that role. It's something that we've never seen done so slowly but steadily and surely before. It's such a different version of Spider-Man. It's fresh and reinvigorating to see him dealing with these situations and this character growing at such a steady but meticulous pace. There are some things that don't work quite as well for me. The film just starts, it goes once it begins, and it doesn't stop. But there are some transitions that stop the pacing of the film. There's a specific couple of scenes when it's transitioning from the second act into the third that it's just, they didn't think it all the way through. At least that's how it came across to me. They could have done a couple of rewrites on that transition. There's also mentions and there are scenes where we have characters talking or reacting to the fact that the snap happened, and there are still people being affected by it, but the film meanwhile just kind of forgets about it, and it felt like it should have explored it more in terms of its connection to the narrative in this film. I think they do an amazing job with this character and the characters that we know and love from this universe. There are scenes in this film that had me with the stupidest smile on my face because they were well executed, the ideas were great, the action just looks amazing. I was drooling at what they do with these characters in this story. There's one scene in particular, I'm not gonna say what, but as it happens, as it unfolds in front of my eyes, I was like, they fucking did it! Spider-Man Far From Home manages to be a great personal and essential Spider-Man film that this character needs after the events of what we saw in Endgame. But it also works rather strangely as a great Mysterio film. It's great fun, it's filled with heart, humor, emotion that we know and love Spider-Man to have in his stories that is relatable to us. But not only that, Jon Watts manages to mix the epic and superheroic aspects of Spider-Man's life with the mundane high school teenage of Peter Parker's life, and it creates for a great blend that is now Spider-Man Far From Home. And I'm going to give Spider-Man Far From Home an A-. Now, my geekies, what did you think of Spider-Man Far From Home? Let me know in the comments below, and let me know how you rank all the Spider-Man films, which one you preferred, this one or Homecoming, and how long can you wait for Spider-Man 3, because I want it tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this, and I hope to see you in the next review coming tomorrow for Midsummer. So until then, stay beautiful and stay geeky. I love you 3000.